All right. So the first thing that we need to know about air is that air is built of, it's a mixture of many, many things. So it's hard to generalize what air is made of because depending on where you are or what time of the day it is or what climate it is and what weather it will change. That is why we usually talk about dry air. And the composition of dry air is that we say nitrogen is around 78%. Sometimes we say 79, but 78 is acceptable. Oxygen is 21%. The third most abundant gas is argon. And then we have the rest of it. There is carbon dioxide, which is an important part of the air. Now, these are the things that are naturally in the air, or इनका होना कुछ गलत नहीं है उसमें. They're naturally there. When we want to get these things out of air, so what we do is we liquefy air. So air is liquefied. But the problem with that is that carbon dioxide does not liquefy. Carbon dioxide is something that sublimes. What do you think, or what do you know about things that sublime? क्या होता है sublimation? क्या होता क्या sublimation? Sublimation is a process by which gases directly become solids or solids directly become gases without being the liquid. The problem with carbon dioxide is that it will freeze, and once it freezes, it will block all the pipes that you have in there and all that. So how do we avoid it? We pass it through sodium hydroxide. Okay? So pass through sodium hydroxide. अब उससे क्या होगा कि sodium hydroxide being alkaline and carbon dioxide being acidic, they both react together. And so carbon dioxide, we say, is absorbed by sodium hydroxide. And now you're left with things that are neutral. और उनको हम separate कर लेते हैं from the mixture. हम उसको liquefy किया, उसके बाद we slowly cool it. Okay, so slowly heat it, and gases are collected as they boil. Okay, so for example, the first one to boil is usually the one with the least strong forces of attraction. So वो सबसे पहले boil करती है, उसके बाद अगली, and that is how we get all of them out. You don't need to memorize which one is boiled first, या उनका order क्या है, या उनका even boiling point क्या है. You don't need to know that. The only thing you should know is that boiling point depends on forces of attraction, and the gas with the least strong force of attraction will be boiling first. And once it boils, you collect it. Okay, so that's the idea. In the exam, वो आपको कभी इनके boiling point या melting point दे देता है, और वो आपसे कहता है कि okay, which one is a gas at this particular temperature and which one is a solid at this particular temperature. So वो आपसे ये चीज check करता है, and we will do a few questions on this. आपको उसकी समझ आ जाएगी. Second thing is, what if you don't have pure dry air? You have what we call pollutants. Now, pollutants are things that are not naturally there in the air, and they cause harm to the environment, to us, and to other like balance in nature. ठीक है? अब उसमें हमारे पास different pollutants हैं, and there's a whole list of these pollutants based on what they have, what they are, and what do they do. So you can just read up on that. जो मैंने आपको file share की है उसमें भी उसके ऊपर है, तो I don't want to go through the list of all of them. You can quickly go over that, or you can refer to it जब हम इसके questions करेंगे. जो pollutants के harmful effects हैं, मैं उनके ऊपर बात करना चाहता हूँ. So there is carbon monoxide, and what is its role? I sent the file to you on WhatsApp. अगर आपको नहीं मिली तो I'll just share the link again. If you haven't received it, just send me a text on my office number. वो आपको फिर file वो मैं भेज दूँगा. Now, carbon monoxide, what it does, it binds to hemoglobin in our blood. So carbon monoxide plus hemoglobin, I don't know how to spell it. Yeah, hemoglobin, it makes carboxyhemoglobin. Now, what does carboxyhemoglobin do? Why is it bad? Because hemoglobin helps us breathe. Kaise? It transports oxygen. So hemoglobin in mammals transports oxygen. But once carbon monoxide binds to it, it is unable to do that. So we say carbon monoxide has poisoned the person, and that is why carbon monoxide is poisonous. So that is the main thing. And carbon monoxide is called silent killer because there's no odor, there's no color, there's no smell, nothing. And it slowly kills whoever is unfortunately exposed to it. Of course, it happens slowly, so people don't really realize that that is what happening in many times. So that's why in all modern homes and offices we have carbon monoxide detectors, क्योंकि humans को नहीं उससे पता चलता, ड्राउजीनेस होती है, एमनेशिया होता है, याद नहीं रहता, और वो ऐसे सटल उसके साइंस होते हैं कि आपको नहीं पता चलता. So that's why we have to be careful about it. Second important aspect of this is global warming. Cake pollutants cause global warming. Now, global warming, जो है ना, it is a result of one thing that is very important to life, और वो है greenhouse gas. Greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect क्या होता है? There are gases that absorb. So there are particles, gases that absorb and re-emit radiations. So for example, sun से radiation आ रही है, heat है, all of that is absorbed by some gases, which we call greenhouse gases. Some greenhouse gases are water vapor, you have carbon dioxide, you have methane. These are greenhouse gases. And what they do is they absorb and re-emit radiations. उससे क्या होता है कि they maintain temperature for a long time compared to other gases. Now, greenhouse effect is important. Greenhouse effect ना होता तो life ना होती. क्यों? क्योंकि हमारी air जो है, it is basically a shield against the outer cold space that we have. और इस एयर में ये गैसेस जो हैं, इनका ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट की वजह से टेम्परेचर बरकरार रहता है, स्पेशली एट द लोअर एल्टीट्यूड्स, सो दैट लाइफ कैन थ्राइव. ठीक है, जो हमारे मौसम है, क्लाइमेट है, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दिस. नाउ दैट इज ऑल गुड बिकॉज फॉर मेनी बिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स जितने सन से एनर्जी अब्जॉर्ब हो रही है वो थोड़ी देर बाद इमिट हो जाती है, बहुत सी उसमें से रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाती है, आइस कैप्स जो हैं वो उसको रिफ्लेक्ट कर देते हैं, और भी बहुत सी चीजें हैं. बट that way there is a balance that is maintained. Problem comes in when some of that ancient sunlight, जो सन ने आज से मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स पहले अर्थ को एनर्जी दी थी, वो किसी पौधे ने उसको अब्जॉर्ब किया, उस पौधे ने फोटोसिंथेसिस किया, वो फोटोसिंथेसिस के बाद वो पौधा किसी जानवर ने खाया, एंड दैट एनिमल उसके रिमेन से ऑयल एंड गैस एंड कोल बना, या वो दरख्त खुद जो है उनसे कोल बन गया. Now, all of that has stored energy which was given to Earth millions of years back. And now we are burning it and we are releasing all of that energy. So now Earth is exposed to energy that is being given from the sun right now, and energy that sun gave many millions of years ago. And all of that energy is being released at a very rapid scale. मतलब बिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स में उतनी एनर्जी रिलीज नहीं हुई जितनी ह्यूमन एक्टिविटी की वजह से लास्ट 200 ईयर्स में होगी. तो उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि ऑल ऑफ दैट एनर्जी हैज टू बी लाइक इट हैज टू गो समवेयर, राइट? एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दीज गैसेस बीइंग इन आवर एटमॉस्फेयर, वाटर वेपर बहुत ज्यादा है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की परसेंटेज इंक्रीज कर रही है बिकॉज ऑफ ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज, एंड मेथेन रिलीज हो जाती है. सो उससे क्या होता है कि दे आर नाउ ट्रैपिंग एनर्जी दैट इज ऑलरेडी देयर फ्रॉम द सन कमिंग एवरी डे, एंड ऑल्सो द एनर्जी दैट हैज बीन released by human activities. तो बहुत ज़्यादा एक increase हो गया है of the greenhouse effect. And what that does is that at the global level, it causes the globe to warm up. It raises the temperature of the seas. It raises the temperature of the atmosphere. और उससे क्या होता है कि it impacts the natural cycle of things. Water cycle है, अगर water ने एक खास temperature पे precipitation होनी है, melt करनी है ice caps ने, उसके बाद you study about it in what you call geography, right? So that is happening, and all our whole life is designed around it. But because of this, अब क्या हो रहा है कि rainfall जो है उसके cycles different हो गए हैं, the way ice caps are melting, the rates are increasing. So there are many facts that we read about it that we are all familiar with. और वो सारे का सारा ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज की वजह से जो इंक्रीज इन ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट हुआ ना उससे, एंड दैट इंक्रीज इन ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट इज कॉल्ड ग्लोबल वार्मिंग. So greenhouse effect is not bad, but an increase, a rapid increase in that is bad for the environment. तो अब उसको रोके कैसे? We make sure that we reduce the activities that release them. So for example, methane कहाँ produce होती है? So methane की एक production है that it is produced as a waste gas by animal. Okay. Second is it is produced as when vegetative matter decays. ठीक है? Methane is also released as unburnt hydrocarbons. Unburnt hydrocarbons. ठीक है? तो ये भी atmosphere में जाते हैं. And then it has all of this impact. In fact, the impact of water and carbon dioxide is not as much as methane, because methane बहुत ज़्यादा greenhouse effect है इसका compared to these two gases. Carbon dioxide, of course, it is released by there are many processes. जैसे कि आप जब fuel burn करते हो, carbon dioxide release होती है. Calcium carbonate break down करता है acid के साथ react करके या वैसे heat करके, तो उससे carbon dioxide produce होती है. Respiration produces carbon dioxide, but photosynthesis converts it back and deposits it back into the earth. So उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि कार्बन पॉजिटिव और कार्बन नेगेटिव एक्टिविटीज हैं. कार्बन पॉजिटिव वो एक्टिविटी है जो इन्वायरमेंट में कार्बन की अमाउंट को इंक्रीज करे. जैसे रेस्पिरेशन इज अ कार्बन पॉजिटिव प्रोसेस. इससे अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इन द एटमॉस्फेयर इंक्रीजेस. But photosynthesis is a carbon negative process because it reduces the carbon that is given out in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide absorb ho jati hai. Now, photosynthesis is a class of compounds called photochemical reactions. Photochemical reactions are reactions that require energy, or they get their activation energy from light. अब इसमें दो मेन कैटेगरीज हैं जो इनको हमें जानना है. वन इज फोटोसिंथेसिस. ऑफ कोर्स फोटोसिंथेसिस में क्या होता है कि सनलाइट प्रोवाइड्स द energy that you need to do this reaction. And in this process, glucose is made. So carbon dioxide plus water, they are used in presence of sunlight. And you need chlorophyll, which is a enzyme for this. And then it produces glucose plus oxygen gas is released. And it's a very wonderful process. It's one of the major reactions of life. Now, this glucose has many strong bonds, and when those bonds are broken down and then the process is reversed, the carbon dioxide or water is made again, and that releases a lot of energy. And that is a way we say that the photosynthesis has absorbed sunlight, which is released through respiration. अब इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि ग्लूकोज इज कन्वर्टेड टू एनर्जी. बी वेरी केयरफुल ऑफ दैट. ये अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारी पब्लिक में बहुत एक मिसकंसेप्शन है कि फॉर एग्जांपल ये एनर्जी ट्रैप करते हैं और वो एनर्जी रिलीज करते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं है कि somehow glucose has stored energy in it. That is not the case. Glucose, when you break it, the bonds that are there, and when these are formed from it, bond forming is exothermic, so that releases energy when these bonds are made. It's not कि glucose ने energy store की हुई है जो हम somehow उसमें से extract कर लेते हैं. It's simply that bond making and bond breaking, simple exothermic endothermic process. So this is an endothermic process. It absorbs sunlight, and that way these bonds are broken. These are very strong bonds, so that sunlight is used to break the bonds and make these bonds. And फिर जब हम हमारी बॉडी में हम करते हैं respiration. So respiration uses glucose with oxygen gas. We don't need chlorophyll for this. We don't have chlorophyll in our bodies, but we do need a very specialized organelle in our body to basically accomplish this. Also, there's a whole process that goes through it. Krebs cycle बोलते हैं उसको, जिसकी डिटेल हमारे सिलेबस में नहीं है, but that produces carbon dioxide and water. अब यहाँ पे एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात है कि अगेन वी टेंड टू थिंक कि this is kind of like combustion, right? हम food burn कर रहे हैं, and people use this idea कि food burn हो रहा है because ये लगता है ऐसे ही है ना कि मतलब कोई भी चीज ऑक्सीजन के साथ रिएक्ट कर रही है and it's an exothermic process. लेकिन combustion नहीं है. combustion में फ्लेम होता है. हमारी बॉडी के अंदर आग तो नहीं लगी है ना. सो बट इट इज अ कॉमन फ्रेज दैट पीपल यूज कि आप फूड, आप जो आपने फैट है उसको बर्न करो, क्योंकि फैट भी हमारी बॉडी में ब्रेक डाउन करके इवेंचुअली आप उससे ग्लूकोज ही निकालते हो और वो ग्लूकोज फिर यूज होते हैं. या कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स हैं, उन वो लार्ज शुगर्स होती हैं, उनको हम पॉलीमर्स बोलते हैं. विल स्टडी पॉलीमर्स इन डिटेल लेटर ऑन. सो उससे हम इवेंचुअली उसको ब्रेक डाउन करके ये बना लेते हैं, विच इज अ वेरी सिंपल शुगर, और इस शुगर से फिर हम ये बनाते हैं. I have a very important question to ask you. Let's say somebody has put on a lot of weight and they do exercise and they reduce the calorie intake that they have, and they go through this process and they lose weight, right? So they're basically burning the fat that they have. And what is burning of fat? It's simply that you reacted with oxygen, right? So is it possible to lose weight by just breathing fast? Is it? Because you're just taking in oxygen with glucose and you're doing this. So why don't we just sit down, start breathing fast और बस weight loss हो जाएगा? क्यों नहीं होता? We don't have the activation energy that way to break down the fat. This is basically the sugar in our bloodstream that is basically converted to carbon dioxide and water. Fat burn नहीं होता है उससे. Activation energy नहीं है ना? There's a whole process that you have to subject your body to eventually get that. Second, let's say I lost 5 kgs through exercise or whatever. Where did that 5 kg go? Rayan says atmosphere. How?
So it can be through either respiring, like exhaling, and then through sweat as well.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Rayan, and I think that was Anes, right? So you're absolutely right. Basically, the fat or whatever weight you had put on, that is exhaled. We literally just exhale it or excrete it, and we perspire to let that water out, and that is how it is given out. So there is a misconception that somehow हम उसे एनर्जी निकाल लेते हैं और बस वो खत्म हो जाता है. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed in any chemical reaction. It's just that bond making releases energy and bond breaking absorbs energy, and this is an exothermic reaction because of that. Acha. Similarly, another photochemical reaction that we have is when ozone is made. So ozone production. So ozone is made in lower atmosphere. Now ozone is O3. It's a very useful gas when it is in the upper atmosphere because it blocks the harmful rays of sun that are coming in, and that way because if they went through तो उससे क्या होगा कि it can cause skin cancer or other distress. But at lower atmosphere अगर ओजोन बन जाए तो it is poisonous. और उसकी वजह से क्या होगा कि एक तो ये स्मॉग प्रोड्यूस करती है, and secondly obviously it is poisonous. So what happens in the upper atmosphere is that ozone is converted to O2 by some catalysts like chlorine. And at lower atmosphere, nitrogen monoxide is responsible for making it. And that is bad. So in the upper atmosphere, we need ozone. And in the lower atmosphere, we don't want it because it causes, and it is made through a photochemical reaction. So that's another important aspect of this chapter. Another one is acid rain. Acid rain ye hoti hai that some acidic gas gets absorbed in water, and that causes that water when it rains, that water basically comes down. Now what it does is that it affects soil pH. So uski wajah se disturbs agricultural activity. Okay, yeah, disrupts agricultural activity. Food production kharab hoti hai. Similarly, it damages the buildings. Damages buildings. I don't know what's wrong with my spellings today. So damages buildings, especially the ones that are made of calcium carbonate, because calcium carbonate, which is a major part of marble, it is basic, and acid rain will react with it and eat it out. तो उसकी वजह से वो खराब हो जाते हैं. Similarly, acid rain can create skin issues. ठीक है, skin issues create करता है because acidic rain, when our body is exposed to it, so it's not good for the skin. So these are some impact, and it also reduces pH of water bodies. जिसकी वजह से क्या है कि water bodies में भी जो aquatic life है वो भी disturb होती है, और उसके अंदर जो growth of underwater plants वगैरह वो भी खराब होती है. So that is acid rain. Now how does it happen? Acidic gases in the atmosphere, one of them is nitrogen dioxide. So nitrogen dioxide can be absorbed by water and produces nitric acid. Okay, you can balance this equation. So basically this nitric acid is responsible for like, I think ये होगा balance करने के लिए, if I'm not wrong. खैर हम देख लेंगे इसको, बाद में balance कर लेंगे. So nitric acid is produced, and that nitric acid obviously it's bad for the environment. Another way that this happens is nitrogen monoxide, which is produced in car engines. Nitrogen monoxide can react with oxygen and produce nitrogen dioxide. And and this nitrogen dioxide can react with sulfur dioxide to produce sulfur trioxide. Okay. And now this sulfur trioxide can be absorbed by water to produce sulfuric acid. And that is again coming down with the rain. ये equation में अभी balance नहीं कर रहा हूँ. The main idea is कि this is how the processes work. Secondly, in these two processes, nitrogen monoxide शुरू में भी था और end पे भी produce हो गया. So nitrogen monoxide is acting as a catalyst because it is regenerated at the end. Okay. Now, sulfuric acid, एक तो यहाँ पे acid rain create हो रही है, एक यहाँ पे acid rain create हो रही है. And these acid rain, it will come down, it will damage. अब बात ये कि हम इसको control कैसे करें? So उसके लिए सबसे पहली बात ये कि we need to reduce the production of this gas and we need to reduce the production of this gas. अब ये कहाँ से आती है? ये भी आपको जो मैंने notes दिए हैं उनमें लिखा हुआ है. Nitrogen monoxide कहाँ से आती है? In car engines, nitrogen from the air reacts with oxygen from the air, produces nitrogen monoxide. Okay. And that means we can avoid it by using catalytic converters. Acha. Similarly, sulfur dioxide kahan pe aati hai? Sulfur dioxide comes from volcanic activity, and this comes from car engines and also in lightning activity. Now, this sulfur dioxide, हम इसको भी रोक सकते हैं क्योंकि ये वोल्केनिक एक्टिविटी वाला तो नहीं रोक सकते, लेकिन फैक्ट्रीज में ये प्रोड्यूस होती है. तो इसको कैसे हम इसको रोकते हैं? बेसिकली फॉर दिस प्रोसेस, सो होता क्या है कि इसको हम रोकते हैं थ्रू कैटालिटिक कन्वर्टर्स. What catalytic converter does is that in car engine, carbon monoxide is also produced through incomplete combustion, and nitrogen monoxide is produced as well. तो उससे वो carbon dioxide plus nitrogen बनाते हैं. So this is relatively safer and this is absolutely safe because it's unreactive. क्यों unreactive है? Because it has very strong nitrogen triple bond. So इसकी वजह से ये, और इसको हम कैसे रोकते हैं? Through flue gas desulfurization. ये हमने पहले भी किया हुआ है. Basically we take calcium carbonate and we react it with sulfur dioxide. We rain powder of calcium carbonate from above in the factory chimneys. और उससे कैल्शियम सल्फाइड प्लस कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बनता है. अगेन कैल्शियम सल्फाइड इज अ सॉलिड, तो वो हम कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इज लेट आउट इन द एटमॉस्फेयर. सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द फ्यू pollutants that we have. Another important point that I want to share with you is water. Water में we get water from many different sources. अब water, pure water जो है ना, that is not good for health, because it does not have minerals and it will go into our body, dissolve the minerals, and that will be excreted out. So it will reduce the minerals in our body. And the only way to replenish that is by drinking mineralized water. So होता क्या है कि water को जब भी हम लेते हैं, we don't use pure water, we just use clean water, which should be clear of microbes and all that. So हम treat करते हैं water को. सबसे पहले क्या करते हैं कि water में जो भी impurities होती हैं, उनको हम देखते हैं कि if there's an impurity that I can make precipitates of. So that's the first step. That's called sedimentation. We sometimes add chemicals to water so that they can do precipitation reaction, और precipitation reaction करके precipitate बन जाता है. Or we let water stay for a while ताकि उसमें जो भी impurities हैं वो settle down कर लें, अगर वो settle down हो सकती हैं. And that sediment is then filtered out. So that's the first step. Second step is we treat it for odor. So odor treatment के लिए we pass it through carbon. Okay, so passed through carbon. And the third one is that once odor is cleared out, we do disinfection. And disinfection is that you add a small amount of chlorine to kill the microbes, and that kills it. And then we sometimes do remineralization of water, which means that you add the necessary minerals in it. So this is salts, mineral salts, actually, a metal salts that are added to it, and they basically provide us with electrolytes, they provide us with the minerals that we need for our body to function properly. So that is how you treat water. अब water में बहुत सी impurities होती हैं, and some impurities are good. For example, these minerals are good for our body. Similarly, there is dissolved oxygen in water, which is good for the aquatic life. But then there are bad impurities in water, which we call pollutants. So, और उनकी एक पूरी लिस्ट मैंने आपके साथ शेयर की है. उनमें एक important है nitrate. Nitrate usually comes from fertilizers. और वो क्या करता है कि when it goes into water bodies, तो वहाँ पे बहुत rapidly plant growth करते हैं, especially algae, और उसकी वजह से all the oxygen is used up, which kills the aquatic animals, fish वगैरह, and it also kills the plants that are there. So these pollutants are the bad impurities, and good impurities are useful impurities. So again, that is all in the notes that I've shared with you. So that's the main idea of air and water. This chapter engages a lot of your memorization, which is not inherently bad, because these facts are important for life. They're kind of like general knowledge that you need. And knowing about these is how we connect chemistry and science to our daily life, to the environment around us. And it goes to show that you cannot live just as an island, just by yourself. We are all connected together, and the problems that are caused by our activities, the answers lie in chemistry. And to be honest, the biggest challenges that we're facing right now, food shortage, water problems, uh, global warming, climate change, uh, all of these have their answers in chemistry. All of these have their answers in chemistry, and of course economics. Okay, so yeah, that's the main idea here. So I will share a worksheet with you. It's from Read and Write Publications. I got their book, so I was like, hey, why not use it? So I'll just share that with you and try to solve it, and I will share the mark scheme as well. Okay, thank you so much. Any questions?
Sir, what is the fourth one?
Remineralization. You add minerals to water.
Okay.